Welcome to this ICF Slalom podcast episode, part of the series running until the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. We bring you the inside stories from around the globe from the people who make canoe slalom so special. Here's your host, John Gregory.
A warm welcome to our 6th episode of this special daily series. Thanks for joining me. We bring you a short daily episode as we guide you on what to expect the next day at the ICF 2026 Canoe Slalom and Kayak Cross World Championship and a recap on the last day's racing in Oklahoma City, USA. Today I'm joined by Scott Shipley as my co-host, together with Joe Jacobi and Danielle Woodward. We recap the kayak finals and preview the canoe semifinals. Before we get to the results, I'm sharing Scott's anticipation for the men's finals.
This is Scott Shipley. I'm calling in from the airport. I'm getting ready to fly out to watch the men's kayak semifinal and final today in Oklahoma City, women's kayak as well. But as I look at that men's kayak, the class I used to race in, I'm just sort of struck by the changing of the guard. And you see that old guard, De Janeiro, Olympic champion, Preskovich, Olympic champion, Prindis, World Cup champion, Kauser, world champion, Olympic medalist. That old guard that's holding in there, trying to get to that final today. And they're up against this incredible amount of talent, led by Crazy, who won the qualifier, but also Tito and Castorique, silver medalist at the last Olympics, young gun that won the World Cup last year, Ferrazzi, who's been so fast this year, winning a couple of races, Hocevar, who's been so amazing in C1 and K1. And so I'm kind of on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to see what that semifinal sets up in terms of a clash between the old and the new. And is this really the time where that baton passes to that younger generation as we get ready to look at, how it's stacking up for the 2028 Olympics?
That was Scott Shipley. He is an American 3 times World Championship silver medalist, now the Whitewater Division Manager of S2O Design. He represented the USA at the Olympics in Atlanta and Sydney. He spoke to us from the airport and then the Riversport OKC course. Again, before we get to the results from the kayak finals, we also heard from Olympic gold medalist Joe Jacobi.
Bon dia, friends of the Canoe Slalom podcast. Thank you, John Gregory, for having me on to share a few thoughts. And I'll start by saying what a delight to hear some reflections from Rebecca Giddens about her World Championship win in 2002 and her Olympic experience in 2004. I had the great honor and privilege to be her teammate during that time. And what a teammate she was. I mean, in addition to all the great things that she did on the water, the way she supported all of her fellow athletes on Team USA was just on another level. And as we head into these next days of the Canoe Slalom World Championships in Oklahoma City, I just wanted to share a few quick thoughts as, of course, number one, the venue is super important to me. I lived in Oklahoma City for 5 years, some of those years working as the CEO of the National Federation under the umbrella of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and working on the development of this venue was always a huge project for me. I loved getting to work with Scott Shipley on it, which I think it's really important to reference his stake, his ownership and participation in the development of that amazing facility there and what it brings together. But secondly, I think now that all the international athletes are on the ground and racing, I think if we step back in the world of sport today, one of the things we just saw was Team Spain win the World Cup of football in the United States. And it was really fun to experience the performance of that team living in this country. Because I think something that the people talk about with that football team is the way that team always just kind of comes back to the basics and the fundamentals. And I think embedded in that is something that after 9 years of living in this country, I think it accurately reflects the way kids are raised in sport. I think it reflects the foundations of coaching education in this country. I know you could say that about a lot of countries or a lot of athletes that always want to get back to the basics. But I think in this country, when we see that, when we hear that, it's just like a way of moving forward. And I see this in the canoeing program as well. Just a few weeks ago, Maria and I were paddling the C2 over in Sort as a bunch of the Spanish clubs were getting ready for a kids' competition over there. And watching the kids surf on waves and catch eddies in their slalom boats on a natural river, I just saw like a beautiful repetition of basics. And I think we see it everywhere. And to pull this back to Oklahoma City, I remember when I was living and working there, talking to an executive with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the last year's world champions in the National Basketball Association. And I remember him telling me during the days that Serge Ibaka played for the team, and there are a few Spanish basketball players have played for the team, but one of the things that the team always valued about athletes and coaches who come from the Spanish system is that ability to get back to the basics and the fundamentals. It's just so rooted in the culture. It makes it fun for me to watch the participants there, and I see that in the Spanish performance so far. They get all three women through in the women's C1. Two of the three men's kayaks, Llorente and Palachani, are through to the semifinals. In the women's kayak, Mayellen Chirot, who, by the way, is just a living, walking textbook of getting back to the fundamentals over and over and over again, well into her mid-40s now. Unarguably the greatest canoe slalom athlete of this country, and Laia Cerruve pushing through to the semifinal as well. And so that's really great to see. And then one last just sort of overarching thought is that it really makes me happy to hear some of the interviews. I know it's hot on the ground there, but beyond the heat, to see how the international athletes are really embracing the vision of river sport and bringing a facility that brings together so many kinds of paddling and a gateway to the outdoors. And I think that's a beautiful part of this World Championships. And I hope that it also transfers over to the greater Oklahoma City community in a way that really reaches the people, and not just at their head, but in their heart as well. And I think there's really something there for the community if the community can really come back and get involved and really start to participate in the sport in a meaningful way. Like Oklahoma, it would be such a great place to do that. So more than anything, I am wishing all the athletes well. Of course, I'm keeping an eye on the athletes from the country where I've lived for many years and neighboring Andorra. You know, it's going to be fun. Monica's paddling so well, and it's great. It's great to see the possibilities for Andorra. And I think one last thing I just want to say about Andorra and Monica's participation, I think fans of canoe slalom have gotten used to seeing Monica paddle at the highest level in the kayak category, the canoe category, and kayak cross. But what isn't as visible yet, but is starting to happen, is that there is a group of juniors and development athletes out of Andorra that is training at the Parc del Segre on a daily basis with really good coaches, with good equipment, and kind of right alongside of the of what is happening with Cadi, the canoe club there in Laseo. And I think that is a very exciting development for the sport. And knowing that, Andorra is just a few kilometers away from where I live, and being a fan of Monica's paddling, I think it's just great to see the development of a larger, deeper program, which is just very exciting for canoe slalom. So I hope the athletes have a really great experience in Oklahoma City. I'll be watching. I'm cheering for all of them. I know it just sounds like kind of a flaky thing to say, but it is so true. Like, I love Oklahoma City. I love the people. I love the culture. And to see the athletes just having that kind of not athletic experience, but that kind of human experience, it just thrills me to no end. So, bona sorte, mix meus.
That was Joe Jacobi, Olympic gold medalist in C2 men. He represented the USA at the Olympics in Barcelona and Athens. He spoke to us from home in Laseo de Gel, Spain. Back to my co-host today, Scott Shipley, on the bank watching the drama unfold in the kayak semi-finals and finals.
semifinal and final were amazing for a lot of ways. I mean, the semifinal was brutal and just disjointed. 3 of the top 10 actually made it into the final. I think there was something like 9 or 10 50s in the semifinals, which is kind of unheard of at this level of paddling. Of the young guns that I really wanted to see in that final, Hocevar, Kasterik, Ferrazzi, none of them were in it. Really, the only one in that's been great from their own group is Gretzel, and he was pretty, not dominant, but very solid in the semifinal. When we went into that final, safe money was on Gretzel. I really liked De Janeiro, and when De Janeiro came down, I thought, that's it. He had a solid run, very smooth. That's your gold medal. You passed away. The Polish came into second and kind of caught me by surprise, but just looked solid and fast out there. He was so fast on the top when other folks weren't. And then when Gretzel came down, there was no touching him. He just looked amazing. And it looked like in that last cross that he was going to drop the ball and that was going to be the end of it. And he kind of went from 0 to hero, fought his way back on the wave, and actually took a super aggressive line into the last up and came out. That was the gold medal run and super amazing. I think we're kind of leaving this battle of young guns versus experience to the Olympic trials. And we'll see who makes it to the games as we go forward, whether it's going to be De Janeiro or Ferrazzi, Kauser or Hocevar. And then we'll have to see who makes it to these games that's young and talented or older and more experienced. The women's class, in a lot of ways, I mean, everybody's looking at the GOAT, right? Greatest of all time, Jessica Fox. She's an amazing paddler. I think we expected a lot from her. She wasn't dominant in the heats coming into the final. When she came down in the final, she was solid, and you could tell that she is the champion she is. And that really came out in the paddling that we saw there. Second place, Evie Liebfarth. America needed that, right? We need our medalists. Here we have a hometown world championships, and the crowd just stood up for her when she came down. You could hear the cheering, a lot of noise being made. And I think for everybody watching from home as well, the fact that we have that champion that we can all follow was amazing. And there's more to come, right? Because there's still the C1 races that are coming. That was absolutely fantastic. Kimberly Woods did the heavy lifting. I mean, the semifinals were disjointed, a lot of 50s, a lot of mistakes. Kimberly Woods came down early in the ladies, put down a pretty dominant run, had a touch that I think all of us thought knocked her out. But then when she crossed that finish line, she was so fast. And so that really set the standard in the earlier part. And that's when you really started to see girls going faster and faster. And Jessica finally came along and took her time out. What an amazing final, and so much energy out there because, like I said, America wants their champion, and they've got that in the shape and form of Evie Liebfarth.
And in yesterday's post, Rebecca Giddins talked about Danielle Woodward from Australia, who has been inducted into the International Whitewater Hall of Fame. Now, here is Danielle's reaction to Jess Fox's latest gold.
Hi, it's Danielle Woodward here, and I'm coming to you from the Slalom World Championships being held in Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. Today I witnessed a most remarkable event, and that was Jess Fox winning her 3rd gold medal for these championships, and we're only halfway through. Today she won the individual kayak gold, which is she's the current, obviously, Olympic champion. It was just marvellous to see this because it was her 3rd gold medal for these championships, having already been successful in the kayak cross individual time trial event. And then she partnered with Noemi Fox, her sister, and Katie Eckhart to win the teams slalom championships for the women. And then, as I said today, she's taken home the kayak crown. It's just, I'm speechless actually as to how good Jess is. Her ability to perform under pressure is second to none, and to watch her is just poetry in motion on the water. The other athletes in the race are spectacular as well, and they're by no mean feat is it an easy road for Jess. She has to perform at her absolute best, and she just seems to be able to do it time and time and time again. It doesn't matter how hard the water is, if it's big or technical or stopperish, it's just she just performs, and she's just a joy to watch. And I am so proud that she's Australian, and I'm so proud that I've been able to be here to watch this success. And we still have the C1 category for men and women, and we have the kayak cross event on Saturday. So we've still got another couple of medals to go, and it's just been spectacular. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the week.
That was Danielle Woodward. She represented Australia at the Olympics in Barcelona, Atlanta and Sydney. She spoke to us from Oklahoma City, USA. Congratulations to our kayak gold medalist. Jess demonstrated her technical mastery with 5 kayak world championship titles, matching those of her dad Richard. Jakub Krejci's win represents the 5th different Czechia athlete to win K1 men since 2013. Vavra, Yuri, Ondrej, Vit and now Kubo. Congratulations Evie on the first US women's kayak medal at Worlds since my co-host this week, Rebecca Giddins, in 2003. So who are the US medalists at Worlds? Well, in men's canoe, John Lugbill, Davy Hearn, Bob Robinson, Bruce Lessels, Adam Clausen and Fabian Lefebvre. And in women's canoe, well, none yet. Who will be next or first for the US? Friday's competition on the river sport course for this 5th day of competition at these Oklahoma City Worlds is the canoe semi-finals and finals. Athletes race on a new course of gates from the qualification heats and the same course as the kayak semi-finals and finals. First, paddlers are fighting to make the cut of 12 boats to the final. To help refresh your memory from the canoe heats, in C1 men, fastest was world number 1 Nico Guestin from France. 19 national federations made it through to the semi-final of 30 boats, which includes 4 world champions, Nico Guestin, Benjamin Savsek from Slovenia, Sidris Tasiadis from Germany and Vaclav Chalupka from Czechia, and 2 Olympic champions, Nico and Benny. In C1 women, fastest was Marjorie Delassus from France. 17 national federations made it through to the semi-final of 30 boats, which includes 4 world champions, Claudia Zwalinska from Poland, Mallory Franklin from Great Britain, Andrea Herzog from Germany, and Jess Fox. Jess is the only Olympic champion in C1 women. Thanks to my co-host today, Scott Shipley, plus Joe Jacobi and Danielle Woodward. The next episode at 6 a.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow will recap the men's and women's canoe finals and preview the kayak cross head-to-head. Throughout Worlds, I will be updating the Canoe Slalom Analytics Google Sheet. There is a link in the show notes. There are multiple tabs covering Worlds, Olympics, World Cups, and more historical results. I'm John Gregory. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, tell other people, send them a link, like, follow, or write a review. And if you need more, keep reading Ettore Evaldi's brilliantly insightful and eloquent blog, now celebrating its 20th anniversary. Stay safe.
That's it for now, but please subscribe to the podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or YouTube and leave a review too. Until the next episode, keep it fast and clean.